へ強がって飛び乗って風に流って青空昨日を超えろ
Welcome to Podages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through Digimon anime. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 14, The Kings of the Insects Clash. And my guest for this episode is an awesome artist and a co-host on The View from the Top, a podcast covering Haikyuu. Thanks for coming on the show, Gabi.
Oh, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So I have a couple questions for everyone who comes on first time they're a guest, and so I'm curious how you got into Digimon, like what your backstory is, what parts of the franchise were you familiar with, and which seasons you saw, and in what format, like dubbed or subbed.
Oh wow. Well, I was basically the perfect target for Digimon in age, because I think the first time that Digimon came to Latin America was in 2000, and back in the day I was really into Pokemon. But we didn't have cable at my house, but my aunt used to have it, and Digimon used to run in Fox Kids. So I remember whenever I went to my aunt's house, I always wanted to watch Fox Kids because there was this show with really pretty designs. So this one time I was just watching. I never paid that much attention other than these pretty monsters are doing funny stuff. But then I could watch the whole episode and watch the ending for the first time. And I vividly remember how Digimon appeared on the screen, and I was like, oh my god, I need to watch this. Like paying whole attention. So I basically fell in love with the show at that moment. I was 8 years old at that time. So when we got cable a couple of months later, I started watching the show completely. So yeah, it took me over like immediately. Back in the day, I think only the first 13 episodes were running in Fox Kids. So yeah, I could watch it from the start, and I just loved all the characters and how different it was to Pokemon. Because in Pokemon, I was mostly interested in the designs of the characters. But then Digimon had this vibe with the storytelling and character development, and something that just totally took me by surprise as an 8-year-old. And I really loved Takeru, because Takeru was my age. So, and I was also I'm also the youngest sister in my house, so I related to him a lot. Yeah, so that's basically how I got into the series.
So I'm not really familiar with how Fox Kids worked outside of the US. It wasn't airing the English dub, it was airing a Spanish dub?
It was the Latin American dub, the one made in Mexico, not in Spain, because we usually in Latin America we usually get the dubs made by Latin American countries, usually Mexico. So we got the series in Fox Kids, but the dub was a Latino dub. But unlike the English version, we got the original Japanese version of the series, only with Latino voices. So we got Butterfly and the original soundtrack and everything. The only weird thing is that they kept the English names. So I got to know the characters first as Matt or Tai and Sora and Easy and all the English names, but with the Japanese setting. But yeah, for us, usually Mexican dubs use the original Japanese versions. There were very few shows that we got from the English version first, like for example Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Beyblade and Medabots. I think they were all took from 4Kids from the US, so we got the English version of them. But for Digimon, luckily we got the original. So I got to learn a lot of Japanese words back then, because also Mexico doesn't really like to localize the series that much. So we got a lot of Japanese lingo in the translation, even if it didn't really make sense in our language. Like, I think I was telling you one time about Joe Senpai that was translated into Superior Joe. And that doesn't make sense in Spanish because we don't have that hierarchy between schoolers. But it still made sense to me because he was the oldest one and he always behaved like the one in charge of all the kids to be well. So it made sense to me that they called him Superior Joe. I was like, oh, maybe it's something from the place they are from. I used to think when I was little. It's only when I grew up and knew what senpai was that I understood that they were calling him Joe Senpai.
Yeah, there's probably lots of elements that as a kid I was like, oh, this is a weird thing about this show. And then once I was older, I was like, oh, it wasn't that show. It was Japan.
Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
So pardon my ignorance about how the like airing of anime and general TV and stuff works in Latin America. But so you are in and grew up in Peru, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were saying like a lot of the dubbing was done in Mexico. Is there any is that kind of how it works for like all of Latin America, or is there any like regional differences?
I think it works for most of Latin America, or Spanish-speaking Latin America, because I know that Brazil gets their own dub. But for people who had cable, at least, we got mostly all of the same shows as the US, I think. At least from 4Kids, I remember we got pretty much the same shows. And then Toonami was also a thing in Cartoon Network later. So I got to watch some shows there too. But Fox Kids was my fave because it used to have the most anime from all the other channels. Yeah, but I think it's pretty much the same for everyone who got cable, at least in Latin America. But I can't be completely sure because every country is different, of course.
I'm also surprised that it's like it was still branded as Fox Kids. Like I always assumed that was just like an English-speaking US kind of thing.
Also, in Latin America, we got a very special channel that I don't think the US got that was called Locomotion. I think it was a channel from Argentina. And that was the channel that basically all of Latin America remembers with most fondness, because this channel was very like into otaku culture and Japan in general. So they got us shows before any cable channel like Evangelion or Saber Marionette or Bubblegum Crisis. I was a 10-year-old watching Evangelion because of that channel, because my parents thought they were only cartoons. So yeah, that was the main difference, I think, between Latin America and the US, at least for kids who had cable at their homes, because I have friends who watched Digimon after me, because it was broadcast in local channels about 1 or 2 years later, I think, and it was also the Mexican dub. Yeah.
And also forgive my ignorance about the general Spanish language. Like, is it easy to consume things that are like spoken in Spain?
For us?
Yeah.
It is, I guess. I've never watched anime in Spanish from Spain because it's pretty different in the way they dub stuff, because they do localize things more than us.
And there's probably a bigger market in Latin America than there is in Spain.
I think so, yeah. Because it's the stuff that we grew up with. So and the language is so different from Spain that it's very hard to sell Spanish dubs to people from Latin America. And it's very funny because nowadays there's a lot of YouTube channels of Spain folks who react to Latino dubs, and they usually like them better because they don't censor anything, and they also like keep the dialogues very very faithful to the original. Meanwhile, in Spain, they used to change the dialogues a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Mexico had a very special time of dubs with very with directors that care a lot about the material and try their best to make a very very faithful adaptation. And they are so famous now that you can have the dubbers and also the singers from the openings touring all over Latin America. I've been to a lot of cons here with the people who dubbed Goku or Vegeta, and also the people who sang the openings and endings in Latin American Spanish. So they are very famous and very loved by the Latin American people. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I was gonna ask if it was like ever weird to be like consuming the stuff that was like, like produced in Mexico, like in a different culture, or if but I guess like you were describing that they were so faithful to the Japanese version that maybe that wasn't as obvious.
It's actually funny because at least the ones that were adapted from the Japanese, they tend to be very very neutral with their Mexican accent, because Mexican dubbers usually want to make it in a very neutral Spanish, so it can be enjoyed by everyone in the continent. That's one of the rules actually when they are dubbing. But for example, Pokemon that was brought from the 4Kids version from the US, I think the localization in English maybe had a lot of jokes. So when they translated the jokes in the Latino dub had a lot of Mexican jokes too. That was one case, for example. I remember more Mexican jokes in the Pokemon dub than any of the other dubs that I've seen.
Did that? But I assume Pokemon was still pretty popular.
Yeah, it was.
Despite that, right?
Yeah, and we got used to it. Well, most countries in Latin America don't really have their own dubbers. For example, mine doesn't make dubs at all, not that I know of. So we've always consumed dubs from other countries, mostly from Mexico. So we are used to it, basically.
Thank you for that very interesting perspective on things that I should know more about, but I don't know much about.
Nah, it's fine. It's a very different world here in Latin America, I think.
All right, so now on to a quick lightning round. What seasons of the show have you seen?
I've seen from season 1 to season 4. Yeah, to Frontier.
So which one was your favorite season?
Adventure. It's always been my fave. I think I used to like it's always been my fave, but I think that when I rewatched all the seasons as I got older, I grew to appreciate 3 more. No, it's not 3. It's Tamers. Tamers. I got to appreciate Tamers a lot more because I think it's a bit darker than the other seasons. So maybe as a kid I didn't really understood it as much as I did when I got older, because it's very dark.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, but Adventure keeps being my fave one.
And who's your favorite Digimon?
Digimon. I think it's Gatomon. You call it that Gatomon in the US too, right? Yeah. I wasn't sure. Yeah, Gatomon's always been my fave because I really love her story and all the stuff with Wizardmon and Kari, and I just love her so much.
So you mentioned that the character names like Kari and Izzy and Matt and stuff you use the English dub names. Is that true for the Digimon as well?
Yeah, I think so. Because, for example, I think the Digi-evolution from the perfect evolution for Kabuterimon is Atlus Kabuterimon in Japanese, but in English, I think you got Mega Kabuterimon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did too. So I think we got the same names for Adventure at least.
And did they call the terms the evolution stages? Were they localized into Spanish, or were they?
Yeah.
Was it perfect?
They got localized. Yeah, they were adult, perfect, and mega. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But like Spanish versions of those.
Yeah, Spanish.
Okay. I just want to make sure what you're like translating back in English for me and what was like literally what they said.
Yeah, well, they're pretty similar. It's adulto, perfecto, and mega. Mega is the same. So
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
It's interesting they kept the English mega instead of Japanese ultimate.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they found the terms in English easier to use and easier to pronounce too.
So it was adult, perfect, then mega?
Yep.
Interesting. All right, who's your favorite villain?
Wow, that one is hard. I really love all of the adventure villains. I used to not like Etemon that much when I was little, but I've grown to love him when I watch it again as an old otaku for now.
Same.
Yeah, I think my fave is still Myotismon, just because he got the closest to actually do something really, really terrible in Japan. But after him, I really like Piedmon and Muppetmon.
And who is your favorite of the adventure kids?
My fave as a kid was Kari, because I related to her so much. she was my age, and I really liked all of her story with Tai, and she was just this very mysterious girl. But when I got older, I grew to love Izzy above everyone else. I think he's my favorite.
And was that mainly from rewatching the original series?
I think so, because I used to like him a lot. But when I got to watch the series as an adult, I understood his story way better. And I think it impacted me even more. So I think he's very interesting. He's a very interesting character.
All right, so here's my favorite question. What's your hottest Digimon take, your most controversial Digimon opinion?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have one, because I still like Adventure more than Tamers, I guess, because everyone regards Tamers as the best, I think. But for me, Adventure is still the best.
Okay,
I don't know.
That's controversial to a lot of people. So
I think so, because I've like got into small discussions over that.
yeah.
Tamers lovers are very, very, very passionate about Tamers.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so let's get on with the rest of the show. Let's dive into this week's episode 14, The Kings of the Insects Clash, aka Clash of the Titan Beetles, aka No Phones at the Dinner Table, Koshiro. The spoiler policy for this episode that we'll be talking about everything in the Crunchyroll episode, including the title and preview for next episode, which is the end of the episode, but we won't be talking about any tech synopses for any future episodes that have been revealed or whatever, and no titles for episodes beyond the next one. So yeah, Gabi, what were your quick impressions?
It was fun. I think from all the episodes where they got to their perfect forms, it's probably my fave one so far, because I think it really focused in a very interesting aspect of Koshiro. It was very fun to take away for his technology from him. That's something I don't think they've done that before, not in that way at least. So it was interesting that it was Tentoman who got to tell him, "No, it's your brain that is the most important here." So I like it. It was fun.
All right. I realized since you mentioned that it's your favorite of the Ultimate Evolution episodes, I realized that I somehow in the outline of this episode forgot to ask what your thoughts have been on Adventure 2020 overall so far before this episode.
I think it's way better than I expected, because 3 got me like really disappointed, and I didn't get to watch the new movie either, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I think it's a very good remake of the original with the elements from 20 years later. Oh my god, I'm so old. But the only thing that I think it's lacking for me so far is that they used to have to get so many allies in all of the other Digimon. Even Ogremon got to be an ally at the end. So I feel like that's kind of missing for me, because Wamon and all the other Digimon that they got to meet and befriend, they are not really there anymore. So I feel like that's what made me care about the digital world. But now I feel like it's only Safe Tokyo. So that's the only thing that I'm not too sold on right now. But for the rest, I think they are at least handling the characters way better and than 3. And yeah, I think they are writing them. I like that they took the risk of separating them from the start instead of going again with what Adventure did, that they were a group from the start. So they are getting to know each other through the episodes, and that helps for anyone who's never seen Adventure, I think. So I think it's a nice approach. I like that they are taking risks.
Yeah. It's nice that they're like changing up the formula just enough that it's fresh for us as returning viewers, and hopefully it is also natural and intuitive for new viewers.
I was just gonna say how funny I find Matt's voice, Yamato's voice in Japanese, because it's so low. He doesn't sound like a kid at all. So funny.
He's not emotionally a kid. He's just too cool.
He's a tsundere. This episode made me laugh because he got into Ikakumon just after Joe got sleep.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on.
I didn't catch that the first time I watched the episode, and then went back to get screenshots, and then I was like, oh, he actually got on. Oh my god.
That was Adventure at its best.
Yeah, I feel like this show overall, I was worried that there wasn't like any humor in the episodes. And I think recently in the last couple episodes it started to trickle in a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. How have you felt about the the general pacing of evolutions? Like the fact that we're in episode 14 and at the tail end of they're almost done with all the ultimate evolutions.
I guess on one hand, as an adventure fan, I'm kind of worried because I really liked how do you call the crests in English? They are crests.
Yeah.
Okay. The crests. All of the storylines with the crests in Adventure were actually my favorite part of the series, and we aren't really getting that. We're only getting a very abridged version of them right now. But what makes me excited, I guess, is that if they are going so fast with this, is because we are getting new content later, and that makes me think about Takeru and Hikari and how they are gonna get into this. So on one hand, I'm glad that they are not trying to only make the crests deal the same as Adventure, and I hope that it means that we're gonna get something new from the other characters, because that means there will be more time for them, right? So I'm 50-50 so far.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see where your hope comes from, but I also am worried that the focus that Taichi's getting. And it's hopefully they're not leaving more room for Taichi. Hopefully they're leaving room for Takeru and Hikari.
I'm hoping that too, because it's kind of weird how Taichi is the one who can read this stuff. I guess his Digivice is always shining when he does it, but it does give a bit of the Chosen One vibes too much for me. They are supposed to be a group of people, a group of chosen ones, not only one. So I hope it doesn't go that direction. I guess that's my only worry. One funny thing is how that mountain where they found the runes with the sacred Digimon. That mountain looks a lot like a tourist place here in Peru that got very famous in the latest years. It's called Winicunca. It's the 7-color mountain, and it's very similar. I was like, oh, I wonder if they got inspiration from that.
Oh yeah, huh?
And it's interesting how they got the angelic Digimon in that episode, because I wonder what's the deal, because it's in the flashback there were only 6 Digimon, I think, only the mega versions of them, right? So I wonder where Ophanimon and Magnagemon get to be there. Are they gonna be with the other secret Digimon? I hope they explain that.
Yeah, I think I really like how they've basically answered a lot of things up front, but then they left these other mysteries. We have to wait weeks and weeks to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, because Hikari got the same feather very close to her, right? So there's something going on there.
Yeah, and this actually I'm a little bit worried again for Hikari as of this episode and as of the new ending song, which
that's true.
Yeah,
she's not there.
Before this ending song, the opening treated all 8 of them equally, basically, except for Taichi, and then the ending song was just the 6 without Takeru and Hikari. But now this new ending song features Takeru pretty prominently as separated from the rest of the group, but no Hikari, which makes me worried that the next arc will be about
only
saving Takeru or Takeru on his own or something, but no Hikari yet. So
do we know how long this is gonna be? Only 2 courses or?
So the strongest evidence, which I still don't think is 100% concrete, because it was on it was an episode count listed on a Toei Europe website.
Okay.
And I don't think the website has been 100% accurate in the past. But that listing said 66 episodes.
66?
So, yeah.
What the heck? It's longer than Adventure.
Yeah, so
oh, wow.
When you're talking leaving room for more content, I'm like, there's going to be so much more.
Yeah, that's exciting, but also scary.
I've seen people talk about how maybe they're fast forwarding through these evolutions, getting through them quickly so that they have room for everyone to get their mega evolution later on.
Because that's never happened before. So
right, but I was like, okay, if there's 6 of them, I mean, if you ignore Takeru and Hikari for now, if there are 6 of them, and if they really do this pace of evolution, and then they finish all the evolutions, and then they go to the next stage with only pausing for 1 episode in between, 66 episodes and 6 characters leaves room for 11 evolutions. So that's that's not they get 1 more mega evolution would be what, 3? That'd be 13. That'd be 18 episodes. 18 out of 66. What's all the rest of the time for? I'm worried I'm getting my hopes up too much that number is just wrong or something, but I don't know.
I was wondering if Devimon was just like the first boss for now. So if we're gonna see more villains, then maybe that means that we still got a lot to go through.
Yeah. There's so much, like we were talking about with the Takeru and Akari, that's like unknown to us, and the whole shape of the season is unknown, and that's really exciting to me.
I hope they just try new stuff, because we already saw Omnimon, so it's like, wow, what else is there for us? I also wonder if we're gonna get more Digidestined. Maybe not in the Digi world, but they were always like kind of hinted in the first series. So, well, I guess they have a lot to cover.
Yeah, and like, I mean, if they're doing this staggered approach to introducing Takeru and Hikari, it's like that would be the perfect way to like kind of like transition focus to them if they wanted to also remake the second season.
That's true, yeah.
You know, so I'm like, maybe it's going to be like 33 episodes of adventure and then 33 of Zero Two maybe. Yeah. But yeah. Well, anyway, let's get back to this episode. You were explaining that you liked this evolution better than the other Ultimate Evolution. Yes. Yeah, I think I agree too. Like, I think it definitely felt the most like natural and earned. My only like hesitancy about this episode is that like it felt a little like I want to say like it felt like kind of obvious or basic, but really it's that like this is a complaint I had early on a lot, that like the kids really weren't exhibiting many of the flaws that they originally had in the original show. That like Taichi was more... He was
very reckless.
Yeah. And like in this season he's been reckless only in the right way. Or it's been like, it hasn't really been a problem. Or like Sora hasn't really had a problem connecting with Piyomon like she did in the original show. Yamato basically like got over his issues with the friendship like right away and didn't really seem to be struggling with that. So then Koshiro, like, it didn't seem like it was a problem until this episode, where his reliance on technology suddenly became like a debilitating problem. Like it was like he can't even function without technology. And I was like, so it did kind of answer like my call before of like, where are the flaws? And it's okay, here's a flaw. But it was like so extreme. I was like, okay, this feels almost out of character.
Yeah, it's very on the nose.
Yeah, like the Koshiro in my mind is much more like subtle and nuanced than like, oh, I get on my tablet, I'm gonna keep staring at my tablet for hours, trying to like, just like, oh no, I can't function without it. So like, but also like that impression that I have of Koshiro in my mind of being more nuanced and capable is from the original show. So it's like I should be going with a blank slate.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do too. Because I also think that since you mentioned how we may get to see the mega evolutions, maybe they are trying to save the real struggles for the characters for then, because otherwise like they wouldn't have that much room to grow, I guess. And also I think this also happens because they don't know each other yet, so they didn't start the series as some kings who already knew who they were, so they are not very open yet, and maybe they are trying to play with that. It was kind of weird though, aside from like this problem happening out of nowhere, how at the end the laptop was working better. So it was like, okay, so are you trying to make that this connection to his laptop maybe comes from his own feelings about his knowledge? Maybe that's weird.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I see your point there. Either like if they do intend that, then it's like an interesting connection. But if they don't intend that, it's just like really weird writing.
Yeah, it's very like, convenient.
as soon as he's confident again, oh, his laptop came back, and it's like, oh. And that line where he says like, and it's like, it's even fast, it's even better than before. And I was like, what does that mean? That sounds like it was written by someone who doesn't understand computers. And it's just like, oh, he got an upgrade. And it's like, what does an upgrade mean? It's still the same laptop.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I wonder if that's what they're going for, or it's just convenient writing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, because it's like they're in a digital world. Like using a laptop in a digital world is already like a weird concept to begin with. Like I feel like there's room for them to make it magical or something, or like tied to his emotion.
Also, Koshiro well, not only him, all of the kids, I feel like they are very tamery right now, because they are always fighting along their Digimon, and I'm always like, oh my god, you're gonna get hurt. Don't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense in terms of like literal plot, but it's like it looks cool, so okay.
I guess so. Yeah, but I'm always worried about them.
Yeah, especially when like they're getting hit with lightning or something.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, are you unaffected by this? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's do a quick walk through a recap of the episode. We're running a little bit long, so we'll try to make it a little bit brief. So we start off with the Digimon Encyclopedia for Tentomon, and he points out that it's Kansai Ben, Kansai dialect.
I didn't know that. Well, I've never watched it. I think I've watched Adventure in Japanese once, but I was still younger and I didn't know that much Japanese, so I didn't realize he was speaking Kansai Ben, but he always sounded like an old man. And I always liked that about Tentomon.
Yeah, him speaking in Kansai Ben is one of those things that's like, I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like I've always known it, but as a kid, I certainly never did. I think it's just something that like in the fandom people just talk about, and like there's no, like, I think he even comments in this encyclopedia entry that it's like for some reason it's like there's no explanation or like why he of all Digimon randomly speaks in this different dialect for a different region in Japan. Like, yeah, but Digimon is neat for having random things like this.
Oh yeah, it gives it a lot of personality.
Yeah. And also the Kansai Ben has been a bit of a controversial point in the fandom for this season because they maybe the number one thing to know about Kansai Ben, if people don't know about Kansai Ben, is that they say instead of san, they say han. So Tentomon says Koshiro Han instead of Koshiro san, but the Crunchyroll subtitles still translate that as Koshiro san, and people have been frustrated, like, if they're gonna bother to keep in the honorifics, why not keep in Han instead of San? It's like, I don't know. I could see how if someone's like new to learning Japanese honorifics,
yeah, it's gonna be confusing.
Yeah, it's one thing to like have San because it's like, okay, San is so common, everyone sees San, but Han is like pretty rare, so I can understand.
Yeah, sometimes you have to let it go. It doesn't really change that much because it's not like Kansai Ben makes you super special or anything. It's just another dialect. So
yeah, exactly. And there's lots of things that Tentomon and Kabuterimon say that are like references to kabuki, maybe references to Japanese culture that just go completely over my head.
So cute.
Yeah, so it's like those references is like, okay, if I were Japanese, I would understand this, but like it's too hard to keep up with. So, oh well.
Yeah.
He just acts weird.
And like an old man.
Yeah. So the opening this time has new sound effects added, which is weird. I'm curious if that's going to be every episode. I'm used to in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where they add the sound effects just for the final couple episodes of the season, and it's like a nice way to like mix up the opening as it's ending, and like you're getting the last couple times of it, and it also like JoJo's will add sound effects, but then also like mix up the opening as well in interesting ways. This just felt like maybe they changed it up because the ending song was added, so they changed up both, but I don't know. Yeah, it seems a little weird to me.
I wonder if it's maybe because they are gonna change the opening soon also.
That'd be cool. So yeah, we see Kakamon carrying everyone up the mountain. Piamon points out that she could carry everyone, but Sora wants her to rest. And Joe tries to get Yamato to come up, but Yamato ignores him for the whole episode.
I didn't think that he was gonna do that all the episode. That was a nice joke.
Yeah. I guess looping back around, going a little bit non-chronologically, but yeah, that basically that scene gets resolved at the end of the episode when Joe's fallen asleep. And they kind of imply that he's just been talking to Yamato the entire episode. And then Gabumon comments that it's quiet now, and Yamato is like, okay, let's go to Kakamon now.
Such a tsundere.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people react like, I don't know if I see the soft side of the tsundere there. Like, I feel like he was just kind of being mean to Joe the whole time. Like, he's like, he's not like, oh, I'll be around Joe when he's not noticing. He's like, I'll only be around Joe if he's asleep. I don't have to hear him.
No, yeah, I think so too. I was just calling him tsundere as a mockery because it's like, oh, come on, Yamato.
Yeah. This episode's all soon. So we'll see the dairy next episode. So yeah, we see like flashes of Tokyo's on fire. There are car accidents, train accidents, fires in tall buildings, people stuck in elevators.
I wonder why the fires. So weird.
Yeah, I could see there being something about like if there's a power outage and if people have to rely on candles, and then if there's an earthquake.
But they look at like explosions. Super weird.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Because I know like there's like a famous earthquake that happened in San Francisco. I forget when, but it was a time where like because people using candles, the earthquake caused so many fires. And it's like, okay, I can see how if people were reliant on candles that could, if there was an earthquake, that could cause a secondary disaster, but they didn't talk about there being any kind of earthquake. It was just, the power's out, now there's a fire. It's like, okay, I don't know.
Also, the people stuck in elevators, it kind of implied that they just got stuck, like they weren't stuck from the beginning. And I was like, okay, so why are you using the elevator in an emergency?
Yeah, like the narration over that was awkwardly
Exactly.
phrased. Like it was saying something like search for an elevator or something. It's like you shouldn't be using an elevator at all in this like time. You should just use the stairs. But
Yeah.
I don't
Wonder
know.
if it was maybe a mistake of translation. I don't know.
Yeah, it was also animated weirdly because it was like kind of implying that those people in the elevator were
Yeah.
just staring at their phones. Like because they only had like one image for people in the elevator, and they showed like the screens going blank from
Yeah.
like running out of battery power, and because of that, like awkwardly, like it implied that there was an elevator full of people just awkwardly staring at their phone for hours until their battery went out, and they're like, "Oh no, our battery's out."
I'm gonna not do anything. Just stay here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, going back to Koshiro and Taichi and Mimi's group, they're wandering through a maze. Koshiro reassures them that he can solve the maze, but then as soon as he reassures them that any puzzle has a solution, he loses reception. And Taichi warns them to not get split up because their digivices might not work for communication. Mimi finds Funhouse mirror rocks, and Koshiro tries to scan the rocks but can't because he still does not realize that his tablet's off.
That was weird. The Koshiro not realizing his laptop doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess he's just in shock. Like it's gonna take a while to realize it.
Poor thing.
I mean, it's like kind of like his tablet is like his hand, and he like doesn't even realize that it doesn't function yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kawagamon attack, and all the Digimon evolve, fight separately, but they're equally matched. There's been a lot talking about like why Greymon and Togemon don't evolve, but this was the one moment in the episode I thought that was kind of justified and explained that Taichi's Digivice starts to glow, but then Greymon gets smacked around a lot, so like
yeah, it was hard for it to.
He can't get powered up. Yeah. And Koshiro wants to help, but he can't track their movements, and he's like says they're hunting, but can't really do anything without tracking anything. And then they run into Akuamon, and then they're even more cornered. And at this point, I was like they're talking how they're at their limit. What can we do? What can we do? But they're standing in place, and like they haven't even discussed whether like should we try to evolve or something to like. I don't know. This was frustrating because it's like what can we do? Is there anything we can do? And it's like you have two Digimon that have reached ultimate before.
Just do it.
One of them multiple times.
Yeah, I feel like that's where it's. I don't know if it feels like maybe it's very targeted at kids, this show, but unlike Adventure, it doesn't care about the other people watching it, maybe because it's very on the nose. Like yeah, we know how to solve this, but we won't do it because we need Koshiro to have the spotlight here. So it's kind of a letdown in that sense.
Yeah, and I think if you're not looking at it with a really critical eye, this logic didn't feel that bad. Like it was like because in the moment of the episode, I didn't really catch it. It was only when I went back and saw people complaining about them not evolving, and then like watched it with that, looking out for that, looking out for instances where they could, that I really noticed it. So like, yeah, I think if the target audience is kids and they don't really care about these things. This contrivance for adults, then I think it's okay. Like as long as most kids watch it and aren't like don't immediately question it.
Yeah, I think they could have solved it in more interesting ways. Like for example, when Taichi was saying how the Digivices didn't work, maybe they couldn't evolve there because there was no signal or something, and that's why Koshiro is the only one who gets to do it because he goes outside of the maze at some point, something like that. Like they had some options.
Yeah, well, so they break up the formation, and but to do that, Koshiro basically gets separated after the big attack, and he can't communicate with them. And basically, Kabuterimon's grabbing Koshiro and flying away from Akuamon. And they basically, at this point, I thought it made sense that they're running through the maze, or they're flying through the maze, and they want to meet up with Taichi and Mimi, but they could just fly above and see where they are. But if they do, then they'd be immediately spotted and targeted. So they have to basically treat it. I thought it was interesting that it was like, it wasn't literally a maze, but like they weren't actually trapped inside an interior. Like, but there was a plausible reason they couldn't go above. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, they used the enemies kind of well this time.
Yeah. It was it's nice to see like Kawagamon as like a swarm instead of like a single intimidating enemy. It was kind of interesting. But then Kuamon intercepts Kabuterimon and Koshiro, and Kabuterimon's getting pummeled, and Koshiro just stares in shock and can't do anything until as Akumon's like literally crushing Kabuterimon in his mouth. Kabuterimon reminds Koshiro that his brain is his ultimate weapon, not his tablet, and Koshiro snaps out of it, closes his tablet, and tells Kabuterimon to shoot the cliff and reenact the climactic battle scene from Mulan.
Yeah, basically.
Very timely.
And better than the remake, I mean.
Yeah. And so then while Kumon's stuck under a pile of rocks, Kabuterimon flies off, and Koshiro reflects on how he was relying on his tablet, blah, blah, blah. I feel like this was cute. Like I was saying, it's a bit on the nose in that they made Koshiro gave him so many flaws. But I do think this flaw that he had is very relatable, especially for 2020.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very different than from 1999. Like, kids are very reliant on technology, and I feel like they are way more connected to it. So they would feel helpless without it, especially if you are 9 years old. He's 9, yeah, right?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I think he's 9 and like Taichi
10
and Sora are 10, I believe. I always have to do the math every time to like, it's like, okay, the high school system starts at grade 10 and Joe is going into middle school. So that's middle school 7, 8, 9. He's going into middle school, so he's in grade 6, which means Taichi's in grade 5, which means that Taichi is 10, so Koshiro is 9. Okay, Koshiro is 9. I have to do that whole math thing each time. But I think, because it's like Koshiro in 1999, like the original version of the show, he was like representing what a kid at that time, how they would interface with technology. And at that point, technology is like one of many tools, basically. And now it's like,
it's everything.
If you're a kid with a tablet, you have the entire world at your disposal.
Yeah, and they kind of set him up at the start as this kid that didn't really even get to befriend other kids, and he actually did it more on the internet. So he was very, very attached to to his tablet. So I kind of get it. I guess it's still a kids show, so makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm of two minds because I'm like, okay, they kind of dumbed it down a little bit, but also like it's very relatable. It's very fitting for now, and it's a very natural. It gives them a natural way for an evolution to be tied into knowledge. Like I do like how I don't want to compare everything directly to the ultimate evolutions the ultimate evolutions in the original show, but because I think probably what's going to happen is that in this show the mega evolutions will be more similar to those ultimate evolutions.
Maybe.
But I really liked how in the original show, like Izzy or Koshiro's evolution was like, it wasn't like him learning how to like show off his knowledge more.
The opposite.
It was kind of like learning how to like balance his knowledge, and that like he shouldn't be solely focused on knowledge.
Yeah, that's one of my fave evolutions in the original, and it's very original in general. How they made him like almost this cult figure by the end, and how it kind of he's so focused on his knowledge that he starts losing connection with Tentomon, and thus he starts to devolve. So it was very, very well done. So it's hard to not compare it now, but if this is like the start, maybe we can think about it more in the terms of this is more and a more direct comparison with the when Tentomon evolves to Kabuterimon for the first time. So I think that helps.
Yeah, I agree. Like if it's a starting point and equivalent to the champion evolution, it's really good for that. Yeah. So then once Kabuterimon evolves to Alter Kabuterimon, Atler Kabuterimon.
Let's just call him Mega Kabuterimon. It's easier.
Yeah. Apparently, Atler Kabuterimon is just in Japanese. It's just spelled like the beginning of Atlas.
Atla.
Like, Atura is how you'd spell Atlas in Japanese, and I guess whoever was in charge of writing the Romanized names just didn't know how to spell Atlas, so they thought Atlas was spelled Atler. Anyway. Mega Kabuterimon / Atler Kabuterimon. I thought the evolution sequence was good. Like the more I looked at the animation, the more I was like, oh, nothing really happens. Like we get to see like a leg, another leg, and then
the back,
like that, and then like the wings, and that's it. Yeah, but I don't know. Like I in the moment was wowed by it, so I guess I fell for it. Like it worked on me.
Yeah, it was fine. I like it. Garudamon way better, but this wasn't that bad, I think. At least they didn't completely copy the original as they did with Lilymon. That was very, very similar to the original evolution for her. So yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I appreciate for Lilymon, I appreciate they copied because it's like, okay, that one's iconic.
Yeah, I guess it was nice as nostalgia for me, but it was still weird how it's the only one that they copied.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't feel. It feels very different from all the other ones, but I guess it's also such a different transformation that like you couldn't just show Togemon transforming normally. You'd have to have the flower bloom
true.
Again. I guess. So.
I wonder what they're gonna do with Gatomon.
Oh yeah.
Or Patamon. Patamon will be even harder.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll see.
Oh yeah,
We never know. But yeah, so Adler Kabutorimon lands and stomps out some Kuwagamon, and basically Okuamon reappears, and then they square off. And like we were talking about, like the original Adler Kabutorimon / Mega Kabutorimon evolution episode, I appreciate how like that pairing off was weird. Like it was, what was that guy's name? Oh god, I've totally forgotten. The giant evil, the giant alien
what was his
brain
name? I don't
thing.
remember.
Oh, Vedamon.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
okay. Vedamon.
Yeah, Vedamon. All right, so yeah, in that episode with Vedamon, like I appreciated how weird the pairing was. Like it makes sense because it's like Izzy's crest of knowledge, and it's like kind of this
Oh yeah.
corruption of like pure knowledge. But this episode, we just get the pure like giant insect given to a
Versus
giant insect. Like
yeah, it was very basic.
But I mean, it's cool in how basic it is. You know, like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
It's
yeah,
just,
I think it's fitting for now.
Yeah.
So it was fun to have the big Kabuto destroying them.
Yeah, the big Kabuto sumo match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in this battle, Koshiro basically like uses his newfound confidence to tell Taichi and Mimi to use the mirror rocks and where to find them.
Yeah.
And it was nice seeing him like coming into his own again, and you know, being able to give them tactical advice without needing to think about his laptop or anything.
Yeah, it was a good way to use Izzy in a different way than what we got so far in the series, because he was always like on top of everything, but only because of his laptop. And now it's because of his own ability.
Yeah. And I don't think like it's like he was on top of things because he had access to his laptop, but it wasn't like he was just funneling information from the laptop. It wasn't like he was just doing Google searches.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He was doing things that were like complex, and he was like reconstructing maps and like digging into data and stuff, and all this stuff that like I could see how from his perspective he might think that he's only valuable because of his laptop, but like really his laptop was just a tool, and you know, it was a very important tool.
Yeah, but now he knows he can apply it outside of his laptop.
Yeah. And then when Alter Kabutorimon and Okuamon face off, basically Alter Kabutorimon, Koshiro just gives him the signal to like, okay, Alter Kabutarimon's like, okay, what's the strategy? And Koshiro's like, go all out, use all your strength, and then he does that and wins the battle. But like we were talking about before, about like when the kids are riding the Digimon, it's like, oh no, this seems unsafe. This basically Adler Kabutarimon's finisher move, Horn Buster, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even notice this. My boyfriend when we were watching pointed out that like he like does this like gets this giant horn and then does this like dive bomb attack, and then like in the middle of the dive bomb, it like transitioned to making. It does the animation that like signals that he's spinning really fast. And it's like, oh no, Koshiro's gonna fly off. But like it happens so dry. Like, you don't actually see. They don't actually animate him spinning. It just like does that cloud of smoke with the swirlies that makes you like, okay, I guess he's spinning. So they don't have to actually show how plausibly Koshiro is just there.
Yeah, it's very
magic.
Funny. I noticed it while watching, and I was like, okay, Koshiro.
The power of friendship.
Yeah.
He has magnetic boots through the power of friendship.
The attack was kind of different of the original, right? Because Hornbuster was just like some lighting from his horn, I think.
Oh yeah, I didn't really remember it, but now I think about it, I remember like him holding the horn up and then like lightning coming out or something. This is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've been one aspect that I actually liked about this is that they are not only making an animation for the finishing move, but they are getting the Digimon to actually fight. And like one of my favorite ones was when Togemon gets to actually punch and be a boxer. That was fun. Yeah,
this episode had a lot of cool battle animation, like Togemon doing stuff. Like even when Greymon and Togemon aren't really like able to do much in the battles, like the way that Kuwagamon are like pinning them down or like, you know, holding. At one point there's like two Kuwagamon like carrying Togemon around, and I'm like, this is kind of oddly to say, but it sounds kind of weird to say, but it was kind of cute. But it's interesting to just see the Digimon being used in physical ways.
It's more physical
that we're not used to seeing.
Yeah, I think that's where the dissonance comes with this aspect of the kids fighting amongst them, because before in the original, since we only got like the finishing moves, you could see the kids fighting with them, but now they are so physical that I get worried about them. They are there in the middle. You see their little silhouette there, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna die.
So that's basically the end of the episode, and then we get the new ending song, What do you think about the new ending song?
Yeah, it was so nice. The first one was kind of slow, so this one was very, very fun, and the animation was very, very good. I really liked how they were making the kids interact with their Digimon, and seeing Yamato smiling was funny.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint. I think the opening part is great, where it's showing like each of the kids of the Digimon doing a unique thing that like fits their personality and everything.
Mhm.
And the animation style was definitely jarring at first. It reminded me a lot of the shift in animation style when the Pokemon anime went to the Sun and Moon series.
Uh-huh.
Where like they suddenly got a lot more like cartoonish, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they just, but the cartoonishness, like the simplified expressions, made it easier for them to like emote and express things more.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and this ending, I think that animation style, the character design style, makes it easier for them to have a big range and emotion. But then once they're all running, and like when Taichi's running and he's smiling, it's okay, great, that fits Taichi's personality. Yamato's running just like full grinning. I'm like, no, what you? He's scaring me. He's terrifying me.
Yeah,
You shouldn't smile
it
that
was
wide.
funny. I wonder if it's because Takeru is there. I don't know.
Oh. Hmm. But then, so I was like, are they just gonna animate everyone with this giant smile? This doesn't fit. But then by the end, like when they show Joe, like Joe's like a nervous wreck still and stuff. So like,
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It was funny though.
yeah, it's definitely interesting, unique. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. It's a good addition, and it's interesting how we like. I don't think the last ending was nice. It was nice to like. It was cute. I liked the song. It was well animated, but like we didn't really need a whole ending about how Yamato feels separated from the group or something. Like that didn't even seem
Yeah,
like it was that big of a part of the show, and to give it a whole ending
exactly.
song was
It
weird.
was kind of odd because at first I thought that would be like the resolution for this first part. Maybe that he
Hmm.
would be on his own, like the lone wolf that he always is, and only
Right.
come back for the end or something. But then he's just there. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder what happened there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, just they needed an idea to give focus to an ending, and then they overplayed the focus of that, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to some 3-word reviews. At Bored Individual, Koshiro is spin resistant.
At Corito Prime, Yamato hates Joe.
At CC Takado, need a Kakamon plushie.
At 1 Foot Stout, manage screen time.
At Andy Lucas TT, just kinda meh.
At Mega Dramon 22, knowledge app download.
At Empire Will, actual personal growth. and also in parentheses, Ikaku hammock.
Oh my gosh. At Giga Dramon 22, just attack harder. Ring emoji.
At Digi X Mon, crest interpretation downgrade.
Oh. At Thousand Lion, Kabuterimon best personality. I agree.
At Ursum Reblek, great insect fight.
At Dark N underscore Jaxer, knowledge is power.
At Marfor9, Mimi Koshiro goat.
At Cassius 335, Altur go bzzz.
At Bloody Marquis, Izzy's misshapen hands. I don't remember what I definitely remember a point in the episode where I was like, Izzy's hands look weird, but I can't remember when they were.
Oh, that's true. I think it's when he's holding his laptop, I think. I noticed too.
So now on to some listener questions. So Gigajimon22 asked, I'm not great at recognizing and distinguishing between Japanese voices sometimes, so I'm wondering who was talking over the footage from Tokyo as the accident started up. Was it someone we know, or just a news anchor, or someone from the government? I think this is just supposed to be a news anchor.
Yeah, I think so too, the host.
Yeah. I think especially since they were not, every other time we've gotten news from about the state of Tokyo, it's been via Koshiro, who's been watching. We've like had him interpret or something. This felt weird to me because it was like we were just watching a news report in real time.
Yeah.
As like, it made me kind of wonder if they just had to fill time or something. They had like a 30-second or 60-second block, and they were like, hey, what can we fit in here? Okay, let's put in this little quick status update or something.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear if we were watching through Koshiro or if it was just like a report from the real world.
Yeah, and like, yeah, at least when Koshiro's there, he can like kind of communicate how much time has passed. But it's like, okay, we're seeing this report, but it's like, is this like 2 hours after the last time we got an update, or is this like 6 hours? Like, I feel like that difference in since we don't really know how much time has actually passed.
Yeah, we don't really know how faster the digital world goes, right? Because in the original it was 1 minute in the real world was 1 day in the digital world. So, but we don't know in this one, right?
Yeah, I don't think they've. The only thing we saw was like we saw how slow a video was playing, like how slow a hand was moving, and it's like, but they didn't spell out numbers. So yeah, they could kind of just say whatever they want to
so far, yeah.
make it urgent. Yeah, so on that note, Megajimon22 asked, your opinions on the Tokyo power crisis? Can't help but feel like it should have been the whole world instead of just Tokyo. Does make you wonder what's in Tokyo that's so important to be targeted twice. The original kids, Ryo, Takaru, and Hikari, Daisuke's noodle cart.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, it's a good point that like it's a little weird for like Tokyo to be targeted twice. I think that the question like could it have been the whole world instead of Tokyo? I think it makes sense that like at episode 4, like by the end of the show, sure it's fair to be like the fate of the world is at stake. These kids are fighting to save the entire both worlds. But I think when they're at episode 4, I think it's fair to be like, okay, they're just trying to save Tokyo. That even saving Tokyo is a big deal. If they were trying to save the entire world at episode 4, I'd be like, oh, that's too much.
That's true.
So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna escalate.
Yeah, like maybe Devimon is behind the Tokyo power crisis, and then I don't know, Myotismon comes into play, and then
because
makes it the whole world or something.
They're actually in a different continent than from the original, right? Because the original was Server, so and this one is Cloud. So I wonder if there are gonna be more.
More continents, you think?
More different continents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm curious because at this point, the continent has just been, they haven't really fleshed out the different continents as meaning anything. It's just been like,
yeah.
Oh, you have to go to the other place.
Yeah, I was trying to think why, because the kids have always been from Japan. So, well, if we ignore that, maybe at the start they tried to attack the kids. That's why they tried to bomb Tokyo. But then that's why those mystical forces got the kids into the Digi world, so they could actually do something because they are actually attacking them already in the real world. I don't know, it's weird.
Well, what's also weird is that like if they were targeting the kids in Tokyo, in this version of the show, the kids don't actually live in Tokyo. I mean, I guess we only saw where
that's true.
Taichi, Hikari, and Koshiro live, but they are living in like basically like the outskirts, so like the next town over to the south.
Oh, that's so true. Like, I forgot that.
and in our war game, when the like in the original movie, when the missile like lands safely after being neutralized, like it lands in the water right outside their apartment building. So like at least in the original inspiration, like it's definitely aiming like directly for them. So for this one, for it to be like a missile coming towards Tokyo and a power outage hitting Tokyo, but none of them actually, I mean, I don't know about none of them. Maybe Sora. Yamato definitely lives outside Tokyo.
Maybe Joe.
Takaru. Maybe it's all about Takaru and Joe.
Or Takaru and Hikari.
Like maybe Takaru is the only one that's actually in Tokyo proper, and they're all focusing on him or something.
That's true. That would make sense.
Would be interesting,
I guess. Well, we'll see. There's a lot to cover yet.
Yeah. Next question from Andy Lucas TT said, I don't want to be harsh on this episode because Koshiro is adorable, timid, and precious, but why do you think the show is refusing to look more than 2 episodes ahead? In the original adventure, we saw his adoptive parents in episode 4, and the payoff come in episode 38. This series feels way too episodic. I see that point, that like it's frustrating for, especially specifically through the lens of Koshiro's like whether he's adopted in this season or not,
I don't know.
and if that like it's weird for us to have gotten like 2 episodes kind of focusing on him. I say 2 because I say kind of because the first one was kind of not really his focus episode. This is kind of his first full focus episode, and seeing no hint of that is a little bit weird.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll be there, because I think that one of the most special aspects of Digimon was the different families that we got to see. Yeah. So I hope they maintain that. But it is kind of strange. Also, let's not forget that Digimon Adventure was kind of an experiment from Toei.
But I think in terms of like in terms of like looking ahead, I don't think the show necessarily has a problem with like not looking ahead, because like we got Hikari and Takaru planted in episode 2 or so, and like they haven't even come into the show yet. Like I don't think there are some things that the show is actually planting far in advance.
Yeah.
And I think but that's only like a couple things. And I do think the character arcs of the kids have not been,
they're watered down,
foreshadowed as much as we would like.
Yeah, they feel like a very simplified version of the original. So they don't seem as complex.
But I'm hopeful they can still address these things, and even without foreshadowing them in advance. And like I could see it being like, okay, if we're going to address Koshiro's family situation, maybe only bring it up once the family is actually involved in the plot. That's plausible, and that would be nice to see.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know.
I think we can say that at least Yamato's family thing is still there. So Although I'm kind of sad that he's not living with his dad in an apartment and being like super these two basically only two guys living together and being a mess. I really like that aspect from the original, so
it kind of explains his like bravado older brother personality too, if he's like only around guys.
Exactly. It's super funny how he was very self-sufficient. It explained it very well.
Yeah, I think one of the things that worries me the most about the series is that like the series that's been up to this point has been very like action focused, like let's move ahead, like go through things really fast, like action packed all the time, and that worries me that I don't think they'll be able to like slam the brakes and then have an arc like the original show with introducing the parents and seeing the family relationships and the family lives. Like I'm worried that like this hope that we'll eventually see their families again, like the original show, is just never going to come to fruition.
Yeah, I'm worried about that because also like this the good thing about the original is that the problems in Tokyo didn't start until very late in the series, so we got to see them in their family homes in normal days with their parents not knowing what's going on. But there's such a big crisis in Tokyo right now and Japan in general. Like the parents are not gonna be like super chill about their kids.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's possibility like maybe they'll resolve this crisis and then get to like go back to normal or something.
Well, guess we'll see.
Yeah. So LIO Sketch asked, what do you think will be their explanation to why Plotmon is in her champion form, Tailmon/Gatomon? In the original, she evolved because of years of abuse under Vamdemon/Meridesmon and made herself stronger. So do you think that's still going to be the case in this version?
I don't know.
It's kind of hard because we don't have any of the detail, like any of the elements, and like we don't know how Gatomon's even going to be evolved.
Exactly, because the difference is that the chosen Digimon grew up together in the original. They were always waiting for the kids. But in this one, they are kind of growing up in the wild and then they got to meet their partners. So I don't know if they're gonna go with that route, but I feel like it's gonna be something similar. Maybe, I don't think they will get rid of Gatomon being an enemy at first, because that's very on brand for adventure.
Yeah. I was thinking that like maybe what they'll do to explain why Gatomon stays in champion form will be kind of like an opposite approach. Like in the original show was that she started off as Plotmon, but then went through so much abuse that she kind of like leveled up to champion and like permanently was stuck there because of how much she experienced in life. And I'm thinking, I guess it isn't quite the opposite, but like if like a lot of people have speculated that like that Angemon and Angelomon are part of the holy Digimon, like the 8, I forget how many angels, I think there were 8 angels, like as Seraphimon and Aphanimon.
Yeah, I think so.
And like we assume that like either they're gonna die or something's gonna happen that's gonna reset them back down to their other forms. Like maybe whatever that is that happens does something weird, and like because she's been living as Aphanimon for so long, she is naturally able to stay at a champion form longer. But now that you mentioned the idea that like an enemy Gatomon is an important part of the series, maybe she's gonna get like, like attacked, weakened down to champion form, and then possessed or something, and then like she'll become an enemy because she's possessed or something like that. That could be interesting.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'm very excited to see what they're gonna do with the Holy Digimon. And why only 2 get to have partners?
Yeah, that's I'm really curious.
Maybe they're the only ones that got to survive.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But now that it seems like Patamon, now that it seems like Takaru is on his own, then I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it seems like we're coming up on like next episode is going to be about Joe and Zudomon, but then we're back to like not knowing what's going to be in the future for a while. Or like So yeah, back to open territory.
Wonder why they are going so fast.
Yeah. We'll see. Blue Quasar asked, do you think the other chosen children will get special evolution stock footage?
I hope so.
Yeah. I'm maybe thinking that like if they do, it'll be for the Mega Evolution.
Maybe. Yeah, because the other ones are very basic. Only Agumon and Gabumon get to have nice evolutions so far.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, hopefully.
They also kind of drove themselves to a corner in this case, because the other ones were way easier. At least for champion form, they were all the same. They only got to spin, so making a different evolution for each of them must take a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So hopefully they had, like knew they were making a bigger challenge for themselves, because they could have done some basic treatment that was identical for everyone, and they chose not to. So
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. So Bloody Marquis asked, so first off, joke topic. Why are all Kuwagamons feral? Why can't we have a civil Kuwagamon who gives eloquent speeches? We haven't had any eloquent Digimon this season. I guess we've had like the Neymon and Bearmon. But like
and Andromon for a bit.
Yeah, for like a second.
I miss him. I was hoping that they got to bond with Andromon because he's one of my faves in the original.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. They were also kind of possessed, I think. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, and the way the kids just ruthlessly kill them, even though they know they're possessed, it's another topic.
Yeah, but that's always been the original. They didn't really care. Actually,
well, they at least if they knew they were possessed, they would attack the black gear or whatever.
That's true. I forgot that.
This time they're just breezing past that. Hope we don't notice.
Yeah, but that was something that kind of frustrated me about 02 because they were always worried about not killing Digimon, and it was weird because there was still the how do you call the town where they got to be reborn in English?
Oh, like a primary village?
Primary village. Yeah, so that existed in 02, I think so. So it wasn't such a big deal to kill Digimon.
Yeah.
Then and like when they in Adventure when they get back to the digital world and the Dark Masters had destroyed the primary town. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think what people might raise as objection to that is that when the kids are worried about killing Digimon in 02, it's because they're in the human world at the time. And I guess the like commonly accepted it was fan theory until Try they finally confirmed it for sure. But the idea that the Digimon will be reborn only if they die in the digital world. If they die in the human world, they don't get reborn, like Wizardmon. But yeah, in 02, I wish they had just had that conversation. Like, we don't want to kill the Digimon because they won't be reborn. It's just like like add another half a sentence and then I understand completely. But they never did that. So it was just awkward.
Yeah, but also I believe it was what was the girl called? Yoli?
Yoli, yeah.
Yoli, she didn't want to kill, she and Cody didn't want to kill any Digimon, even in the digital world, that I remember.
Yeah, I forget the exact timing of it, because maybe it came up in the digital world as well.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I think it's a good moral dilemma to introduce, but not to introduce it like 1.5 seasons in after we've seen it happen so many times and we're normalized to it as an audience. Like,
yeah. It was weird.
It feels a little bit like after 20 years of Pokemon, having someone come in and be like, "Hey guys, does this mean to the Pokemon?" And it's like, like I guess technically, if you look at it with that angle, but like, it's a kid's. It's come on, like,
yeah,
we're suspending our disbelief. Can't you too? Like, yeah. But I think in terms of Quagamon always being feral, like that would have been that would be a cute, cool thing, a cool way to subvert our expectations. Like if we see a Quagamon, we always assume it's going to be some evil feral thing. But if there were like a gentleman Kuwagamon, then with a tie maybe,
who got to speak with Kabuterimon, and have fun.
Just like maybe they could do like a Japanese comedy routine together. Like they could be friends. But Bloody Marquis, serious topic. 14 episodes in, where do you think the show's going? I don't mean Devimon or the Holy Digimon, I mean theme-wise. What do you think it's trying to say? This is...
super
I really
hard.
like this question, and I have no idea.
Me neither.
I don't know if it's going to try to say anything.
Yeah, so far, like, one of the question sets is... It's very episodic, so it's hard to think of a thread.
Yeah.
Like, joining all the episodes so far. And, well... Like Jeff said earlier, that this focus on Taichi makes it very like this chosen one vibe. I don't know. I don't think we can really point it out for now.
Yeah, like I always appreciate when I don't know if you can technically call Digimon shonen, but it definitely has that like young boy energy, and I appreciate when shonen series do go above and beyond to have a theme, but it's pretty rare. And even the original adventure, I'd feel like kind of hard pressed to be like, here's the one thing it was trying to imprint on kids. Like it had a lot of like interesting relationship and scenarios and character development that I think was able to teach kids a lot. But I don't know if it had like any one theme or message.
Yeah, because all of the arcs are very different.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you compare it to other Digimon seasons, you can find some common threads, like the original show being about each kid finding their own personal strength, like looking inward and finding their own strength, and coming to full realization of their own best qualities. And 02 being more about like working as a team and pairing up with other people and forming a cohesive unit together.
And kind of legacy. I always got that vibe from 02.
Yeah. I think like one of the moments that really solidified for me like the teamwork aspect of it is that like for a whole arc they're always fighting against Black War Greymon and losing every single time. And like they're getting these new ultimate evolutions and they still are losing. And the only point where they're able to actually push him back and like not actually defeat him, but like just repel against him and like kind of fight him to a standstill is once they have 3 ultimates and the 3 ultimates are fighting this 1 mega. And it's like, okay, once they have the 3 of them all combining as a team, then the 3 ultimates can take down 1 mega. And Tamers, I don't know. Tamers is more complex.
Yeah. Well, it's very hard to boil it down.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think like, but I don't know if those themes, they aren't necessarily like one single message you're trying to impart. I'm curious, since you have lots of experience with Haikyuu, would you say that there's an essential theme you can think of for Haikyuu?
For Haikyuu, yeah, but it has a lot also going on. But I feel like the main theme for the series is passion, but the different ways people work with their passion. Like what I appreciate about it is that it doesn't tell you that if you follow your dreams and get to the biggest stage of whatever your passion is the only valid way to be passionate. But there are many ways to do your passion, and also like connecting to people also helps you achieve the best version of yourself. I think that's very like a very very general theme for Haikyuu, but it's treated in so many different ways and with so many different character arcs that sometimes I feel like it's hard to pinpoint for some people until you get to the end. The end is very like, yeah, this is the celebration of passion.
Yeah, if only Digimon were written as well as Haikyuu. But
the original was very well written, I feel like, but it definitely didn't feel like it needed a central theme, because the only fact that the kids had different crests and different qualities made it like a very varied show. And I think that works because also the Digimon kind of represented their partners. So having only one theme there, like for example friendship, would only like make it less complex, I feel like. Instead they only give friendship to one of the kids who gets to struggle with friendship. So I don't know. I feel like it doesn't need a central theme, but we really don't know if that's what they're going for right now.
Yeah, with like so much about the general structure of the show up in the air, it's like a central theme and a consistent like message, like an intentional message, would be like the cherry on top. I don't expect it from a show like this, but if it's there, it would be amazing.
Yeah, I guess we are just waiting for the best.
Yeah. All right, so that brings us to our final thoughts. Is there anything else about the episode or about Adventure 2020 that you didn't get to mention?
Well, I just hope they keep surprising us, and that they, even if they go beyond what we were presented in the adventure, I hope they still keep that same spirit about just letting the characters grow and, well, first have flaws and then grow. Yeah,
I agree. I think, I'm excited to see where it goes still. In terms of this episode, I feel like I just wrap up my thoughts about it. Like, I think it was the best of the Ultimate Evolutions. Maybe, I mean, like, I feel like the Mimi one is kind of up there with it, but definitely compared to the rest of them, it was really good. And my only hesitation is, like I said, about how I think that it kind of simplified Kushira's character in order to give him this obvious progression step. But it's a simplification that makes a lot of sense and is relatable to kids these days and to adults these days. So like I can't really fault them for simplifying him in that way.
Yeah.
So now we this is the point of the episode where we rate the episode out of 5 stars. I think I'll give it a 4 out of 5 stars. What do you think, Gabi?
Yeah, I think I'm going for 4 out of 5.
Okay, sounds good. And do you have an MVP?
Definitely Tentomon, Kabuterimon.
I never think about this until last minute, and then I'm like, I think, you know what? I'm gonna say Mimi for a moment that I forgot to even mention in the episode, and it's when oh god, I can't remember exactly what part of the episode it's in, but basically it's like, I think it's just Mimi and Taichi on their own, and they're like getting attacked by Kuwagamon, and Mimi's like, this maze and these Kuwagamon are so annoying, and they get attacked by the Kuwagamon, and it's like, it seems like it's really dire, but then like the cloud clears a little bit, or they zoom in or whatever, and then Taichi's like, I think they heard you. And then Mimi's like, I'm sorry, but it's still true. They're really annoying. It's like, oh my God, she's the best.
Yeah, Mimi is I really like how the girls in Digimon get to be very, very interesting and fun. That's something that I really appreciate as a kid. You didn't get to see that many female characters so well written in different media. How they let them be different from each other and not only be like the one representation of femininity.
How have you felt in that regard? How have you felt with Sora so far in this reboot?
Sora. I love Sora. But much like Izzy, I feel like she's been watered down. Because definitely, like, the most interesting aspect was how she struggled to bond with Biyamon in the original, and all of her like problems with her mom. So I feel like for now she's only the heroine, maybe. So I don't know. I feel like she's just watered down for now. Hopefully we get to see her being more flawed later.
Yeah, I guess most of my frustration with Sora so far has been just like the like time or focus the animators give her, and like not animating Bergermon or not animating Bergermon's evolution, or like feeling she gets like one line every episode or something.
Yeah, she got to shine when we got Garudamon, and it was fun to see her like leading the attack and being the hero. But that was basically like one episode out of 14 so far.
Yeah. And I feel like Yamato kind of upstaged her, because like Yamato's the one who actually goes in and does the rescue. And yeah. But I also found Mimi's episode, I thought Mimi's episode was like great as an emotional story, but like in terms of her actual agency, she had like no agency in the episode. She just kind of got carried around until she was really sad, and then
only saved by these
Gargemon?
Gardron.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so next episode is going to be called Zudomon's Iron Hammer of Lightning, and it seems like it's going to have Joe and Sora and Yamato in a icy mountain area. The synopsis in the next episode teaser said, Joe and Akakamon stand up against Yamato and Sora's danger, and it seems like it's going to be Zudomon versus Mammothmon/Manmon. Yeah. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I've always loved Sudomon. I think it's one of my perfect evolutions. And I really like Gomamon. He's super fun. I really like his dynamic with Joe. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Hopefully they get to be less watered down than the rest.
Yeah, Joe has had lots of personality and character throughout. So
yeah, I think he's the best. He's well handled so far. Like all of his, I like it. His introduction and how he was still studying. So
yeah, I think in this reboot, 95% of Joe's interactions I love, and then 5% of them just like it happened a little bit in this episode, but it was kind of like in the background when he's actually saying the stuff that Yamato's ignoring. I was like he puts on this like haughty, like, I'm the senpai, I'm the senior, so like you're gonna do all this, and it's like, oh no, Joe, stop, like.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because since the kids didn't know each other, he's like trying to be the oldest one, unlike in the original where they were friends from the start. So
yeah, also probably like the longer he's with the group, the more he realizes he has to give up that role.
Exactly.
And if he's just got into the group, and it's like he still thinks that he can be the senpai.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think Joe and Gomon is a relationship that I like forget about, and then once it is highlighted, I'm like, oh yeah, it's so great. So it should be a fun episode. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. Last week's Digiprompt was, if last week's episode was based on the birds and the bees, what famous saying would you like to see become the premise of an episode? And my favorite response came in from @Corrado_Prime on Twitter, and he said, people die when they are killed.
Oh my god, I wonder if that could come up with a Digimon dying in the real world.
I don't even know what that would mean to have an episode centered around that phrase. Like, I don't know if I thought this question through very well, but like...
Digimon die when they are killed.
Yeah, just have like people say that like 10 times an episode, and then... Anyway, so this week's Digiprompt is, since this episode about Kosho's reliance on technology was very relevant in 2020, what scenario in all of Digimon did you feel was the most personally relatable to you, and why? And then I'll read my favorite response on the show next week. Send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to podages@gmail.com, podages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, podages.com. If this is your first episode, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or in traditional podcast apps. If you want to support the podcast, share with your friends who put up with you even when you get grumpy because your phone doesn't have any service, and please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps out. I'm definitely Jeff on Twitter. You can also check out my general anime podcast, Love It a Wee Bit. And Gabi, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It was very fun. I can't believe I got to to talk about Digimon in 2020. Because wow, it's been how many years? 20 years since I watched it. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm glad that I remember like months ago at this point, like I keep tabs on people that I respect and follow online who mention Digimon. I'm like, oh, you're a Digimon fan? So like I always thought of you as like
Yeah,
a
thanks.
Haikyuu fan mainly, and then you mentioned Digimon. I was like, oh, Digimon? What? What? So I'm glad I got to have you on.
It's one of my fave anime.
So yeah, if people want to follow you and see your stuff online, where can they find you?
You can follow me at YumiNFTs. I have my art there. Also, well, you can follow me on Instagram at YumiNFTs too. And I guess I can plug in my. I'm a co-host of the Haikyuu podcast at HaikyuuPod, and you can follow us there. Basically, reviewing all of the manga from I think chapter 320 through the end.
Nice. I am excited to listen to it once I'm up to those chapters.
Sure. I'm very excited for you to catch up with the manga.
I'm on chapter like 30 something, so I'll get there someday.
The good thing is that at least it's finished, so you won't be getting more.
But that's sad. Like
It's sad, but also you have a number to finish. So
yeah, I also know that it ended perfectly, apparently. So
yeah, that's the good thing. Like I'm always sad whenever I recommend series and the last arcs are not very good because I feel kind of guilty. But I can confidently say that Haikyuu have a very, very well done last arc and a very perfect ending.
All right, so yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another guest next week to talk about episode 15, Zudamon's Iron Hammer of Lightning. Bye.
Bye. Adios.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
Confidently say that Haikyuu have a very, very well done last arc and a very perfect ending.
Yeah, and I don't know whether like I kind of want to. I'm excited to like see what the mangaka does next eventually.
Yeah.
But also like the more I hear about them, the more it's like volleyball was their number one passion. So I'm like, I don't know what they would even do after volleyball.
Well, Furudate is very passionate about horror, and his first manga was actually a horror manga. So there's hoping that he gets back into writing it.
Interesting.
His original manga was very, very fun. I think he has a lot of potential now that he got to actually make such a popular series.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't really understand or appreciate horror, but if Furudate did it, then I'd check it out definitely.
It's super funny because the main character is a girl. Well, it's actually a duo protagonist also, and one of them is a girl, and she has an appearance cameo in Haikyuu.
Oh,
yeah.
And remember, never stop digivolving. Did the Latino dub use the term digivolve?
Yeah, they use Digi Evolucionar.
Oh, okay.
And actually, when they were digivolving, they used the English word, like Agumon digivolves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was very funny because in Spain they use Digivoluciona, and it was just the Spanish word. Well, Mexican dubs usually like they love to use foreign words all the time. We got a lot of Japanese also in the dubs. Like Genkidama in Dragon Ball, we got Genkidama, Kamehameha. All of the attacks were still in Japanese. They never translated them.
I guess it's weird that Kamehameha stayed in English.
It did, right? But the other ones, they got translated, I think.
I think so. I never really watched Dragon Ball, but like...
Oh, okay.
Kamehameha is like infamous now, so... I guess there's like a tendency with attack names to leave them in because the meaning doesn't need to be conveyed. It's just like, oh, this obscure attack. But
yeah. Well, I know that in Spain they translated all of the names. Also, like in Chala Het Chala in the opening, it doesn't mean anything in Spanish, but they still kept it in the opening. But in Spain, they translated it to Luz, Fuego, Destrucción, I think. Their openings are very different. They still use the melody, but they are very different from in lyrics than the original.
And didn't you used to follow, but then fell off of My Hero and One Piece? Is that right?
Well, I still follow One Piece, but I really am not excited about it anymore. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like Adventure 2020 is treating its characters way better than One Piece right now, because I feel like the characters are just shells of what they used to be, and they are not the focus anymore. So I don't feel any connection to the series right now.
Yeah, there's certain things like I think it's been like 10 years, or maybe it's almost been 10 years since the time skip, and there are characters like Nico or Robin, like there's like details of like what she did during the time skip they still haven't like talked about. And it's like it's been 10 years and you haven't like had a conversation about the most obvious things. Like she was with the Revolutionary Army for like 2 years and you didn't even like
yeah, that, and
so,
also
yeah.
like whenever they go to new places before the time skip, we always got to see Robin going to do some archaeology. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's like she's there to look pretty and fight.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And same with the rest of the characters. Like, I can't stand Sanji anymore. And Luffy, I don't know. I feel like he's regressed as a character a bit. I don't know. And for Hero Academia, well, I've never been a big fan of it. I was mostly interested in the characters, but I feel like sometimes at least the girls don't get to do anything in the series.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Well, the premise has never like super convinced me, I guess, because I don't know, I feel like Deku being a quirkless hero would have been more interesting than just getting the ultimate power.
Yeah,